Thank you. I have no questions, but I do have some comments, kind of a summary. I am a sponsor of this resolution to hire 8 additional officers, and I would urge your support on it. I feel that it's a very reasonable request. We've heard a significant amount of public input on a number of times now and at the previous budget session. We've also had a lot of good questions, particularly tonight. We've received numerous reports, including the eagerly anticipated OIR report. And I'd like to point out that Captain Wall talked about a report that was given to us in the third quarter of 2017 that had a lot of very good information, which has been referred to, and I'm going to summarize in just a second. There is quite a bit that we know, and in my opinion, we have a demonstrated immediate need for more officers, and that's the case that I'd like to make. I feel that we're understaffed. We've had a number of reports, 2 recent staffing reports that both pointed toward needing additional staff, but that's really not enough to hang your hat on. And we've talked a lot. There have been a lot of questions about indicators to me that indicate that we are short-staffed. The first that I would talk about is the priority calls for status report. This is a very good piece of information. It was requested by the PSRC and delivered to us at I think 4:15. It was completed last Wednesday, which is why it's a little difficult to locate in your inbox. And Captain Ackert put it together, and he apologized because it was a lot of handwork. It took a long time. But the summary of it is that there were 105 days where the city went on priority-only call response. That means that the police department wasn't dispatching anything except 911 calls for that sector or the entire city, depending on what it was. That's pretty significant. That means that PD was not doing any proactive policing in those areas, and because they didn't have the staff for it. The next big item is the Chapter 51 transports, and that was one of the subjects at the roundtable today down in Verona. It was one of the main topics, and I requested information from Captain Wheeler, and Captain Wall sent me an excerpt from the report. I don't think you have it, but we approved this report last fall, and in it indicates that there were 145 transports in 2017 to Winnebago. Chief was saying that each transport had 2 officers, approximately 8 hours each. Actually, it's higher than that. That's a full FTE that somebody's not available. And 53 additional transports were local. They didn't take as much time, but as we just heard, that each transport and many others would have a medical evaluation to determine whether a transport's necessary, and that tied up an officer as well. So that's time appropriately spent, but that's time tied up. In addition, Chief Wall pointed out that in addition to that, as a request from the council, the department estimated how many hours they had in on mental health analysis and services for the first 3 quarters. 4,500 hours. That translates to about 49 hours per day. One of the speakers related that's about 2 full-time equivalent positions. And if you extrapolate to 4 full quarters, which might be dangerous, that's 6,000 hours or close to 3 full-time equivalents. Now, this includes 38 of the transports to Winnebago, and there's more data available in that report. What is not in these reports is information that I requested about other areas that eat a lot of time and draw against patrol. There were 259 heroin overdoses that were reported in 2017. There were more because many of those were handled by family or friends, compared to 143 in 2016. That's an 81% increase. There were 9 deaths attributed to heroin in 2016, 34 in 2017. That's a 380% increase. And these investigations took quite a bit of time to process. Shots fired, we all know about that. There were 177 in 2016, 220 in 2017. That's a 60% increase, and we all know that we had a record number of homicides. These are all significant contributors to why the patrol officers were so busy, and that they were stressed and drawn thin. In addition to that, we don't have any specific data. I'd asked for this, but I don't have any statistical data on the stress level on the officers. We've heard about anecdotal information or data about individuals and how they feel stressed by officers, but the police officers go to HR, to the EAP for dealing with their stress, and that's not a statistic that we can necessarily recover. But there's a lot of anecdotal information about officers describing how they were aware that they were being shot at and the stress level because of that. I talked to 2 officers that relayed that to me this last year. Other officers relayed having a gun pointed at them. That's hard to quantify. So there is a significant amount of information that points to the need for additional officers just beyond the staffing study. So it's cumulative. In summary, this 6 officers will help to fill the voids, provide the backup and support, and provide some respite. It's going to be ongoing, and I think the mayor in his comments to finance pointed this out, that number of vacancies due to retirements and departures are going to fluctuate. So we're going to have another conversation in fall about what's going to be appropriate, and hopefully we'll have a lot more information that we can use. This will help to begin to add patrol officers to address these identified problems. We have problems with stress as well. This is going to help with more officers reduce that. The OIR report did not look at staffing. That was not part of their RFP. They were candid about it, but there are things in their report that do point to it, and that information is very important. We were prepared to accept a COPS grant, as we talked about, in the fall, and hire up to 15 officers. Realistically, it probably would have been half that amount. If we would have gotten the full amount, we could have possibly deferred to the following year. We did accept that might be a necessity, and we made that initial initial approval. So this is not drastically different. It's just following through. We didn't get the grant. We're not going to be able to leverage the money. We just have to deal with it. We've already made a commitment to supporting a variety of crime prevention activities. That's been brought up. Like, why not put this money toward another area? We are supporting a variety of these areas, and I think this council has been on record as supporting just about all of them, including affordable housing, mentoring, the peer support, and others. We're going to continue to do that. This is a both and. We have a need for both crime prevention and enforcement of the criminal law. I've said this before. We need both programs, but we're never going to have a situation when we're not going to need a strong police force to end a threat, an imminent threat, and that's been said. Anyway, I hope you would support this amendment.